Hi, I'm Ariya Larker, and you are listening to my podcast, All Things Acting with Ariya, a place where I talk to creatives about this wonderful, crazy, and painful career we call acting. If you are not an actor, please do stay tuned, because though this podcast is called All Things Acting, we will also discuss the general torturous but rewarding life as a creative. Hello and welcome back to my podcast. Now, as I always mention, though this podcast is called All Things Acting, we will also have conversations with creatives outside of the acting field, because I think it's a similar discussion and there are loads of different points that different people can bring to the table. And I'm very, very excited about today's guest. So today's guest is a great friend of mine, and we have worked together on several occasions. I would like to welcome to the podcast my dear friend Ines. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Ariya. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it is such a pleasure to speak with you. So, Ines, you are not an actor.
Unfortunately not.
You are not an actor. So, for my listeners and viewers, those of you watching on YouTube, can you give us a brief insight into who Ines is?
So yeah, I'm Ines. I'm originally born in England, and I'm crafted in I'm born in Latvia. I shouldn't mix those two. I'm born in Latvia and crafted in England, and I am the fashion photographer who's mainly work natural light in her work, and I'm concentrate not just taking a picture but tell a story.
So, you just briefly mentioned that you are from Latvia. I love how you said that, by the way. What did you say? I was born in Latvia but crafted in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, love that. Can you tell us a little bit about why you came to the UK?
Yeah, it was kind of sort of accident because my mom in that time lived in England, Birmingham precisely, and I wasn't just one day. Let's go there, just check the country and see what's happened. So I packed my bags, arrived without any plans, without any expectations, with nothing on my mind. Throw my bag on the bed, and here I am. So what now?
It's not a story that you hear that much anymore, because I think in today's current age, a lot of us overplan everything. So the thought of just packing up your bags and going to a country you don't know is, for me anyway, absolutely terrifying. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into photography?
It's definitely love of the first sight. When I was introduced when I was age between 9 and 11.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I was brought in Latvia, and the mindset in there is a bit different, especially in those times. And the creative world and photography, that's not a job. There's no way you can earn the money. So I always had this crazy passion about it, which I couldn't never explain. But I tried different professions in my life, from starting from one like web design to something random like working as a secretary in a school and everything, and nothing seemed fit in the right place, and I never enjoyed fully. And I always question what's wrong with me, why I don't feel happy in these places. And besides all of it, photography was always following me everywhere, and I always had a camera with me everywhere. And I moved to England, and this struggle kept going with different jobs and coming home and happy and depressed, and like questioning myself, till I bought accidentally, not accident, but I bought better camera just to please myself, and that was one of my first DSLRs. And when I look at it, and I thought, oh my god, I don't understand how to use it. So I thought, let's take some courses to kind of understand. And I took the courses, and the teacher was like, Ines, you need to go to college. You're really, really good. And I'm like, not too sure. He's like, yeah, you should go. And I'm like, okay. And same time, I still kept my full-time job, because it still was that mindset of photography is just a hobby I'm just passionate about and trying to just develop it. And when I was in a college now, first year, my tutor's like, Ines, you should go to university. You clearly have something there. And for me, it's like, yeah, but what am I gonna do? You like have these debts with university and everything. He's like, you can make a job out of it. And I'm like, are you sure about that? So yeah, and then thanks to him, I was kind of pushed more towards the university where I fully understand it is a job. I can earn a living if I try to push myself enough. And then eventually, yeah, I'm doing something what I'm happy, and finally, I have that satisfaction.
What a story. For my listeners and viewers who are also maybe at university right now studying photography, can you explain a little bit about what happens after university? Like, how did you step foot into the photography world here in Birmingham?
Oh, it's chaos. When you graduate, you literally have no idea what's going on. I think because I have this experience of doing jobs which I'm not happy and this crazy passion about photography while I was university, I pushed myself into it as much as I can. And we all know university times when the people are partying and having fun. I skip a lot of that part, and rather than having these times fun ones, I tend to work on my own projects and do photography. And when I joined the university, I still wasn't sure what kind of photography I want to do, because photography is very, very broad subject. You can be a landscape photography, you could be sport photography, and you could be car photographer, and so on. So I literally was capturing rabbits in a field from the beginning
Oh,
until I explore every single field and kind of kicked out what I like and what I don't like. And thanks to these experiments, by the time I still was in the final years, I got a freelance job at Selfridges as a photographer. And after I graduate, a couple months later, they offer me a full-time job in there, which of course, Selfridges is in England. It's a very good name, and it helped me to bring up my portfolio and CV a lot higher stage.
wow. And what was it about fashion photography that you fell in love with?
I think because that's like where I actually can expand my imagination, where I can go, my fantasies goes wild because there's no limitation. And I remember I had this conversation with in university, one of the tutors, and most likely they are very often photographers themselves,
Mhm.
and the tutor was shooting a food photography, and I said I don't enjoy, and they said why. I said because they don't do nothing, because if you have apple, the apple just stands. And they said yeah, that's the beauty. I said no, it's not the beauty. That thing moves, nothing happens. You can't dress up apple,
Yeah.
or can't apple change the pose or the forms or nothing. It's always like that. Well, the fashion, you can do anything. There's limitations. There's no limitations to that.
And we got to work together not too long ago, and we had a little discussion about models. And you spoke a little bit about what it is in a model that really attracts you as a photographer. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because you mentioned actors actually and dancers.
I don't know. There is something I can't even explain what's in a person, because I know, like for many people, when they hear the word model, they straight away imagine this perfect looking person with, I don't know, 90, 60, 90 forms or something. But it's not that. The person have a character, the person have an attitude, the person is so flexible and diverse, and not everyone can do. I'm like terrible in front of the cameras. Probably I'm the worst in front of the cameras because I have a standard pose in every picture and I don't smile. Well, the mother, she have this character like possibility to change in a second. It's like one moment she have spark in the eyes and she's so sensitive and very feminine, and next moment she's so cold-hearted and there is nothing, no emotions or nothing. And I think it's amazing talent to have, and it's actually is a hard job to be a model, because it's like a canvas, as
Mhm.
they have to adjust to our visions or the brand's visions or the client's visions, and they have to be flexible in that. And I think sometimes they actually have to stand in a cold, in the snow for an hours and be
Yeah.
freezing with that, and they can't complain. And it's a hard, tough industry, and I have very high respect towards them.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So, often, us creatives, we find ourselves in moments where we're struggling for work because quite a lot of us are freelancers. And the way our lives work is that you do one job, and while you're doing that job, you're already thinking about what's the next job I'm going to do, and that's how it sort of carries on. A lot of us don't have the stability of long-term employment. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with this, and maybe how do you deal with it at times when you don't have so much work in? Is there anything that you do to help yourself mentally as well during these times?
I'm actually very happy you brought this subject, Ariya, because I think it's very, very sensitive, and many people are scared about that talk. Because especially in these days when the social media plays such a major role, and all we see is the happy people buying five-bedroom villas and driving their Mercedes and going holiday, and their job is a dream. And here I am sitting with my pajamas in third day and with a ketchup stain on it, and thinking, where the heck shall I get the money to pay my electricity bill?
Yeah.
So it is hard, but I think it's a huge, it is a mindset as well for everyone, all creatives, and especially because our job is based on our talents, whatever we do, because it's not just a job we can do. Because if we fail, we think it's our talent what's fails. That means we're not good enough. And it's very easy to fall in this mindset thinking like that. And then those days when you just want to crawl in a bed and sleep and think,
Mm.
I hate everyone and everyone hates me. But actually, I always try to, especially now when I read one very good book, I try to kind of stop myself from thinking like that and try to not take things personally. And yeah, maybe I'm not the perfect, and I'm sure there are people who would look at my work and think, "Oh my God, this is disaster," but it's their opinion, and it's fair enough, because equally there are people who will look at my work and they think, "Oh my God, this is nice."
Hmm.
So I try to concentrate that I can't please everyone. I have to please myself, and I have to live what I want to do. So when I have these times when I don't have a job, I'm thinking, okay, I don't have nothing right now. Let's think how we can sort out this issue and figure out how we can make future better. So meanwhile, if I can't shoot, like in these days is not as much, what's about taking some online courses, go to some workshops, do some research? And I finally find the times to read articles about other photographers and how they struggle, and other creatives, and it's just such an inspiration. And I think thanks to these moments, which may be not the best from one side, I actually found the time to learn about things.
Thank you for that, Ines. So, sort of related to that subject, do you ever find that you are faced with judgment from others for choosing this type of career? And how do you deal with that judgment? Because personally, I'm from a South Asian background, and you don't usually hear about actors from a South Asian background because our families and our culture, it doesn't really, it's not something that we do. And so a lot of people in my community question my career choices. um, have you ever found this in your life? Whether was there anyone around you who maybe looked down on your choices? And do you have any advice for other creatives maybe facing difficult conversations right now about this?
Oh yeah, I think it's on a regular basis for every creative. It's, I absolutely love the fact when I meet the new people and they ask me, "So what you do for a living?" And I'm fashion photographer, and they're like, "Great, great," and they ask a couple questions, and they're like, "Okay, but then what you really do for a living? How you earn the money?" And I'm still a photographer, and they're like, "Can you earn the money of that?" I am earning.
Yeah.
So it is this very stigma that being creative, it always means like there's no jobs and we struggle, which is very often there is a truth in that. But what I think people forget about, we do that because we love, and most likely we do choose this career because it's a passion for us, whatever it is, for a be musician or an actress or designer or painter. It's we following our hearts. And someone who never experienced this thing and never fall in love for something so badly, for them it will be hard to understand us. So I kind of learned to not anymore justify my reasons. I'm like, I just love it and I follow what I do. I follow my dream, and I think it's the bravest step I ever done, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you. And from the moment I met you, I have seen you grow so much as well as a photographer, and the companies that you work with, the brands you work with as well. Like every time your work, it gets better, and it's not just, your photography skill that gets better, but it's the picture as a whole, the models that you work with, the locations that you pick. You're doing more studio work now. I'm so proud of you and how much you have grown in the past. God, how many years have we known each other now? Isn't that crazy? I think it's been at least 2 years, and it feels, especially with the whole COVID situation, it feels like we met yesterday, and we were speaking on our last shoot about that first day that we met. And it was a little sort of outdoor cafe. And the first thing that struck me was that here's this girl, and you know, she's not even from this country, and she's a doer. And that's what makes you stand out. You do things, you have this idea, and you're like, no, it's not just going to be an idea, I'm going to go out there and do something about it. And I went there, and there was a lady doing my makeup and my hair, and you had like clothes for me to wear, and you did this with like no budget at all. And I think that's what's really helped you grow so much, because you go out there and you network. Do you have any advice for other photographers who are maybe starting out in the industry? How could they maybe get to the point that you're at?
Don't think the money is the reason what should stop you. It does impact you, but it's not the one. Because when I started studying photography, when I kind of narrowed down that fashion is somewhere where I like, I start studying other photographers. And there's one Ukraine-based photographer. In that time, he used to live in Ukraine, and he shoots a surrealistic kind of fashion work, which is impressive. And then I read that mainly what he does, he don't use post-production or anything. He shoots in film, and the props what they use is incredible. They can have a meters and meters long matches in their hands and things like that. And I think, oh my god, how he managed. And then he talked about interviews and workshops he gives. He said, I come to this place with a $30 watt film camera, and then they come these guys with the 5,000 watt cameras. And in that moment, it kind of clicked me. It's not about the money what's there, it's actually about the passion and how you try to make it work out of it. So like you said, I managed to without the budget because I wanted to get there. So I was sitting and thinking, okay, what can I do? And I received hundreds and hundreds no's as well. Like, it's absolutely fine. And I think for many people are that, and I'm very pleased for every single person who always says yes. And same goes to you, Ari. I very appreciate every time I said, hey, I have an idea. Are you happy to jump on? And you're like, yes, sounds brilliant. Let's do it. And I think that's his most rewarding thing when you get yes, and then you kind of help each other to grow, and you see each other. Like, I see you growing as well, and it's like, oh my god, I know this girl, she helped me and she's succeeding and she gets so good. And I think it's fabulous. So always try to find a ways how to, if you can't go to this road, I'm sure there's another road. It's maybe harder, it's maybe difficult, but there is always another option. Just don't give up.
And do you think being here in the UK has helped you more with your dream? Do you think you would still be where you are if you decided to stay back home in Latvia?
Oh, I wouldn't be a photographer for sure. Because it's still, even when I spoke with my friends and when I visited the country, as beautiful it is and as gorgeous, and I love it, there is a sort of sentiment still attached to that country. The creative industry is a bit struggling there even more, because I think it's also a small country and opportunities are there a lot less. So being a fashion photographer and being successful photographer where you can afford to pay your bills and everything is very, very challenging there. So I would probably work in an office or something like that. And I think it's also helped me that I met here the right tutors who kind of pushed me towards and said that I have to go. While in there was more people, okay, you are good at it, but think about a job which actually could you earn the money. So I think this mindset, what people have here in England, also helped me.
Nice. And do you think university is the route that you would recommend to other people who are aspiring for a career in photography?
I would say it's more to how determined they are.
Mhm.
University can be very, very good for many factors, as it expands your vision, your mindset. It can gives you an advice. Like we had to study photography in a law, like what to do if that happens, and what to do if someone says that. We had to study photography in a history. We had to like go a little deeper in many subjects. And thanks to university, I learned more about materialism, about media, and things like that. But the university is not the only way as well, because there are, if I'm not wrong, his name is Eric Johansson. Sorry if Eric, you'll ever listen, please forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. But he's a Swedish-born photographer, and he does this amazing surrealistic work, and his exhibitions goes all around the world with his pictures. And he's self-taught, and there are many photographers like that. So I think it depends how much you want to be and how much you time to put, because university can give you something already there, while if you go through yourself, you have to do all your job for yourself. So follow what you feel is the best fit for you.
Thank you, Ines, for that advice. Now, before we wrap this up, we mentioned that quite often, especially like when we first met, we met because you had this idea of this photo shoot. And somehow with your shoots, you managed to find clothing brands to work with, and you managed to find makeup artists and hairstylists to work with. How do you go about doing this? Do you have any advice for photographers who also have this like idea that they would love to carry out, but they've never gone about approaching models? How do you do that?
I just kind of like you said, I changed a lot since I started. Now I kind of know what I'm more looking to, because I know a lot of photographers have the models what they shoot, and then I look at them, think they're gorgeous girls, but that's not exactly for my idea.
Mm-hmm.
She may fit for something else. There's nothing personal. It just every character has something. But then I know I just go through social media a lot. I spend a lot of time on Instagram. I live sometimes there, and I scout for girls and research and check their portfolios. And sometimes it's all it takes. It's one good picture, and also sometimes it takes person being flexible and friendly, and then you can, okay, I'm sure we can work around it. So it just talk with the people. And sometimes there are times when I'm saying people I want to do, but I can't find the right person, and then they direct me in that way. What's about, have you tried that or that? So it just do the research, dig into everything, and then just don't be scared to talk. Like I said, you're gonna receive no's. Everyone always receives no's, unfortunately. That's the life. But once you get this yes, and once you go through it, and once you do what you wanted in this project, you see the finals, you are like, oh my god, it's worked out, look at that, I did it. That is the, you have this satisfaction and happiness. So it just be there. It's like try it and try and try and try and try more, 100 more times till you get what you want.
Mhm. And do you use the same technique of reaching out on Instagram for the brands that you work with and the makeup artists that you work with?
No, not all. I'd say not always. It's very depends, because it's sort of, I think I try to also experiment like what works the best and how to work with the people, because it seems like also coming from Latvia and England, there's a big culture difference, and every people I approach, they may have different background and they might have a different culture. So it's kind of also important to understand how to talk with the people and how to communicate with the people. But the way how I talk and the way what I'm saying, it does change a lot in comparison what I used to say now, and what I'm saying, like what I used to say before and what I'm saying now. And it also becomes more kind of like self value with the time. Like I said in the beginning, I just shot and everything else couldn't run away. Like I said, it's bunnies or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Clouds was decently good as well for shoot. Well, now I become more pickier, and there are a few brands who says sometimes we want to do shoot, and then I'm actually questioning, is that exactly what I do? Because sometimes I think I don't fit in their style, and I'm not their style, and I will produce something but they won't be happy, and then I have to decline them just to save this hassle for both of us.
So I think it's very important that you mentioned there about you do say no sometimes. And I think it's really important as a creative, whether you're a photographer or an actor or a model, that if you don't feel comfortable with the work that's being offered to you, that you know that you've got the right to say no. But I also understand that it's very difficult when you're starting out because you want to say yes to everything just to, get your foot in the door. Um, how did you go about sort of finding that balance of the things you need to say yes to help yourself progress, and the things you need to say no to because of integrity?
I think it comes with a time. Like if I look a couple years back, I would say yes almost to anything, and now it's like I think I improved and I changed enough to value myself a little bit higher, or I'm in a different page than you are. It's nothing personal. It's I'm not being rude, and if I can direct these people in different way, and I do try to help them. It's not like okay, no, and I walk away. It just I don't think this is the best fit. However, I could offer you these and these options. So it's nothing bad to say no. And even when I'm set and I'm with the models and we sometimes do the shoot and we talk, and I said, if ever any photographer to ask you to do something but you don't feel comfortable, you shouldn't do that. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't work. And I think it's every industry, whatever we do, that's because we want to break in and that's because we want to succeed. Doesn't mean we have to tolerate everything and we have to lose our self-respect. No, not at all. I think we just kind of need to understand, okay, it's maybe a bit out of my comfort zone, but I can do it, or it's not me and I can't do it. And when you kind of draw this line, it's like, then
Mm-hmm.
you know which side is to pick.
Yeah, and a sort of similar conversation. A lot of creatives, we find ourselves stuck in this sort of title of being aspiring. So, a lot of photographers introduce themselves as an aspiring photographer. And I did it a lot, like, hi, I'm Ariya, I'm an aspiring actress. And it wasn't until recently that I started to say to myself, I'm not aspiring. I am an actor. Um, have you found that you've had this with photography as well? At what point did you say to yourself, I deserve to be paid for my work? Like how do you go about saying no to constant free work and finally, saying you need to pay me?
I think it comes to point in a life when you see that your equipment gets old and you need to buy new camera and you need to pay your bills, then you can I need to start ask for money, I think, because there's limits as much as I can do. It of course, like there are still the jobs which I do collaborative and myself projects which are non-paid, and that's because that's just idea what to do. And I think sometimes, especially when we feel down, at least for me, it helps me if I do something that I love and I can create this idea and then I can do the shoot. It takes me away from negativeness which goes into my life, whatever it is. But it's very, very hard for me that I still don't feel good enough, whatever I do. And I think it's for many creatives,
Mhm.
how doesn't matter how high or far we go, we still feel like we have this self-doubt in it.
Yeah.
And we also spoke about you, Arya, and you said that you have this doubt. And I went to your play and I was like, oh my God, you are amazing. I loved it. You're so talented and you're gorgeous and you're such an into role. And you took my part like, wow, you were like, wow.
Thank you.
You were like, yeah, really? You're like, not sure. And I'm like, Arya, look at yourself from the side. Like, unbelievable good. And I think it's for many creatives, like we are so self-doubting that
Yeah.
it is hard, but we have to think about what the time we put in there, all the energy, all the emotions we put, everything. And then we have to say, okay, I would love to be valued. And if sometimes it is money, because at the end of the day, we all need the money. We need to live.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that, and thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you have as well. So I know
Oh,
you were
yeah.
nervous before we started.
Yeah, I'm not as good as a public speaker. So the idea that someone could watch this one, it's just scary.
I think you were brilliant, Ines, and I also think like I'm constantly amazed by you, and also the fact that English isn't your first language. I just think you're such a brilliant person, and I'm so glad that you did message me one day on Instagram and ask me if I wanted to do a shoot with you.
Thank you for agree. Yeah, it's like English is like a weird thing. I know I have a strong accent, and I have this love and hate relationships with my accent. Like one day, yeah, I have it, I love it, I'm different. And next day, I hate it because that puts a mark on me. But yeah, like I said, England gives the possibilities, and you understand some point that I have to do things. And
Yeah.
I'm happy I'm here, and I'm happy I meet many lovely people, and I'm happy you came in my life, Harry, as well. And you
Oh.
are such an inspiration to me, and I think to many other ones. Like you work for your dream so hard, and you're not giving up, and it is incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. Before I let you go and we wrap this up, do you have any final bits of advice that you would like to give to any creatives listening?
Yeah, probably to all the creatives out there is just don't please never give up for your dream, because there couldn't be nothing worse than having a job just to satisfy society or people around. Because life is about a journey, not as about final destination. And there's nothing more beautiful than having experience when you do something what you love. So just go for it, and don't let anyone or anything stop you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ines. You have been amazing to talk to. Ines, quickly before I let you go, can you tell our viewers and listeners where can they find you and your work?
So yeah, you can find me. My name is Ines. Inese Golde is my surname, and you can find me as a Goldie Photography on Instagram, or my homepage www.goldiephotography.co.uk. And if you ever guys have any questions or anything, just send me a message, and I will try to respond you. And
Oh,
hopefully you will be good.
wonderful. Such a wonderful person. Well, that is it for today's podcast. I really, really hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation. Please do follow Ines online. I will link all of her social media links in the description. And tune in next time to hear me talk with my next guest. Thank you and goodbye.